One of the ways that we can make better decisions is when we categorize what's urgent and what's important in our lives. There's a lot of people that are considering themselves burnt out at work, actually more so than ever before.
In Vertex, we talk about the 4 layers, the 4 different tiers of decision making: simple, complicated, complex, and chaotic. We're going to do a pros and cons list on steroids. We call this the decision making matrix.
I'm going to coach whoever I have in every area they need to be coached.
You're listening to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, a podcast that delivers value and offers up insight that'll help your credit union grow. ServiceStar has been consulting with credit unions for over 20 years, growing them in the areas of cultural development, leadership development, and management training. To learn more about what ServiceStar can do for you or your credit union, check them out at servicestarconsulting.com.
This is the Credit Union Leadership Podcast. We are excited to get back at it. You've got Scott and you've got
Scott Albrecht.
Ooh, and he's thinking. What are you thinking about over there, Scott? You got the thinker's face.
You know, if I'm a leader, I've got to be effective at making decisions. Welcome to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, where we're going to talk about decision making. We were at a credit union in Florida a couple years back, and we asked them, hey, if we were to add a topic to our arsenal of leadership topics today, what is the number one thing as leaders in credit unions that you want to focus on the most? And it was almost unanimous that effective decision-making was going to be the next horse we put in our corral.
Yeah.
And it's a great course, and we love it. And so we're going to talk about it today.
Yeah, and even going off that, there was another credit union group, actually a young professionals group I was talking with Albrecht, and I was talking about what are topics that y'all need, what are topics you're excited about or that you're thirsty for. And they were saying, we're really looking for personal development in a specific area of strategy. How do I think strategically? Because a lot of us, we get promoted because we're good, we care about our job, and then they expect us to think strategically, and we go, I don't know what to do. I need someone to show me. And when we teach our Vertex Live Nationwide series, I like to, back in the 90s, they had mini series before Netflix, where it was longer than a movie, but it was shorter than a TV show of like 3 to 8 episodes. And I would call this the leadership mini series, where we talk about leadership. How does this affect strategic thinking now that you know your core purpose? And you talk about, all right, what are the things I'm looking for to think strategically every day? And then you put that into action in every moment with this effective decision making. So these 3 really go well together. And this is super powerful. The things we talk about here, again, we'll be answering questions from people that have attended Vertex or that we've talked to in person. But we're going to be answering questions. We're not going to be giving you all the secrets. But what I will tell you is in that course, we talk about 3 things, the 3 Ds of decision making. You need to define the decision. You need to know what kind of decision you're making, so you're putting the proper amount of effort and time into it. After you define the decision, you need to determine when to make the decision. Sometimes we spend way too much brain power on the wrong thing, like which vendor should I buy paper from? And then the third is then you diagram the decision. We actually, in the course, it's very, very involved. We do really, if you're a geek about pros and cons list, this is a pros and cons list on steroids that really helps with that. So with that, we've got a few questions that we're going to be answering today. So we're going to be taking it to the office. Albrecht, are you ready for office hours?
Should I stay or should I go now? Let's go to the office hours.
Dun, 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 dun.
Office hours.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Welcome to the office hours, and I have stolen Anderley's chair. That's right. I'm going to be telling you the questions that were submitted to us, and Anderley is going to be sitting in that wise seat of wisdom and giving us the goods, Yeah, I stole your chair, Anderley.
Yeah, Albrecht, your chair's a little small, so I'm going to have to stand. But yeah.
That's right. So this first question is a very, very important question that we've gotten from one of our listeners, because this question is one that I think most credit union managers struggle with. And that is, we teach that you have important things that you have to do. You've got urgent things that you have to do. There might be some things that maybe aren't that urgent, but they are important. And then we also have things that aren't urgent, aren't important, and maybe it's still on your list of things to do, and maybe that's something to consider. So one of the ways that we can make better decisions is when we categorize what's urgent and what's important in our lives. And one of the questions that we got from our service level leadership training recently was, what if I have too many tasks in the important, urgent category. If I made it 4 quadrants and all 3 other quadrants are blank, and I've just got so much written down in that important, urgent quadrant, which means I have to do it right away because it's
Mhm.
super important. What do I do if I've just got too many things stacked in that do it right away, do it really well? It's important and it's urgent.
Mhm. Really good question. A very common question. A lot of leaders struggle with this. And Albrecht, I'm sure you get this question all the time, or maybe it's not asked and it's something we need to address, right?
Mm. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are considering themselves burnt out at work, actually more so than ever before. And so, as we look at workload, this is a really good tool if you're not using it to be able to
Yeah.
look at your 100 emails and categorize them based on, okay, what's urgent, what's important, what's not urgent, what's not important. And those emails that don't qualify as either urgent or important, maybe you just hit delete.
Yeah.
Maybe you just don't read that article from, your favorite credit union magazine because it's not urgent, it's not important, and maybe there's a
Yeah.
category for that to help you feel less burnt out at work.
Yeah. So there's two things I see in this question. The first one is what I've noticed is we're on the second D of decision making. And it's good to be here, but I don't want us to rush right to determining when I need to make a decision if I haven't addressed what kind of decision it is. In Vertex, we talk about the 4 layers, the 4 different tiers of decision making: simple, complicated, complex, and chaotic. And based on what kind of decision, based on defining the decision, this is going to help you know, where do I put this? Is it an urgent task? Is it important urgent? Because here's the struggle. Here's the challenge with leaders is we think everything's important and urgent. It's got to get done now. It's the most important thing. But let's zoom out a little bit. You may be a branch manager, and there may be a business development opportunity going off, doing something, meeting some potentially new members. And it's important. But is it important for the role that you have been assigned? Is this something that you could delegate to somebody who wants to do business development? Is it something that's in charge of another department of marketing? This was something I struggled with a lot when I first worked actually outside of the credit union back in my Chick-fil-A days. But I wanted my hands in everything because I loved it all. I wanted to be a part of learning and development. I wanted to be a part of helping with irate members. I wanted to be a part of creating strategies and organizations of how we do the layout of our building. I wanted to do marketing. I wanted to send out the email blast and create all this. I wanted to do it all, even catering, everything. And yes, all of that's important, but was it all important for me as the leadership? My position was called hospitality and training manager at that one Chick-fil-A. So that's why it's really important. We need to define the decision. And also, if it's not important or urgent for you, don't feel bad. It's important to somebody. It might not just be you. Albrecht, how have you seen this play out in your credit union experience? Because I know you've worked with a lot of credit unions. You've worked at credit unions, won the sales award multiple years in a row. I know that this has been a challenge for you.
Yeah, first and foremost, you got me hungry for waffle fries. So this is not sponsored by Chick-fil-A, but I might get some Chick-fil-A sauce after this. And second of all, what you just explained with your experience at Chick-fil-A, I think that's so true for all of us. We can get consumed by the urgent so much so that everything seems important. And so we got to make sure that we understand what are the KPIs for my role.
Mm-hmm.
And for learning and development, I didn't work with you, but I'm guessing your big KPIs for your role was learning. And I'm going to take a wild guess on the second one, which might have been development. And so,
Yes.
so everything else, it's great if you want to start a podcast, right? It's great if you wanted to go read a book about marketing. It's great if you want to get into the research on why waffle fries are just so dynamically good.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if it doesn't help you learn and it doesn't help you develop, then it's not really important. And so it is critically looking at what is on that list. And from a branch manager standpoint, I see 2 different types of branch managers out there, not to typecast or stereotype, but I see the one that does want to leave, go out and get the business and bring the business through the front door.
Yeah.
And then the other that wants to go to the back vault room and do operations and get the audits done. And I think there's room for both in the credit union movement. But sometimes the operations person can overemphasize the importance of operations because that's what they're naturally good at. And the business development facing manager can overemphasize the importance of business development. And again, it comes back to what are your KPIs? Well, let's do the same thing. You didn't work with me when I was a branch manager, but what do you think I had to do? Manage the branch
Yeah.
and
Yep.
grow the
The
branch. And so
branch.
some of the things that I was attracted to, which might have helped grow the branch, might have helped make sure the operation of the branch was good. But at the time, let's say I've got 2 new hires and I
Mhm.
want to go do an event where we're going to raffle off a bike. I'm a branch manager. I can't leave the branch to 2 new hires. For some of my
Yeah.
KPIs, I got to manage the operations of day-to-day branch stuff. I can't do some of that. Let's go out and make more members and bring them in when the people who I just hired don't even know how to do a simple transaction. And so KPIs can help you become aligned as you make these complicated decisions. Thanks for helping us answer that question. If you have a question of your own that you want to submit, like this next question, we like getting into the weeds. We actually like putting time on the calendar. We actually don't even charge to meet with you to actually go through questions like this next one. So this next one's pretty interesting. This is someone who met with you, Anderly. So I'm gonna stay in your chair and we're gonna
Yeah.
get you this question.
But before we do, let's get a word from our sponsors.
Nice. Yeah, let's bring him in. Come on, sponsors.
Come on through the door. Knock, knock, knock. All right. Well, we'll see you in just a second, guys.
The financial impact of successfully interacting with irate members is extremely significant. Studies show that 83% of customers feel more loyal to brands that respond to resolve their complaints. Additional research from Harvard Business Review reveals that dissatisfied customers, the only thing they're really looking for is empathy when they use negative or angry tones. So with that reality in mind, there's critical skills for employees to master in effectively handling irate members. In diffusing irate members, ServiceStar brings our research from Filing Institute. And guess what? This is a challenge for us because we revealed that credit union employees are the most likely to avoid conflict by freezing or fleeing from it. So sign up for this class, Diffusing Irate Members, where you're going to learn the top reasons why members become irate, how to treat an irate member throughout the interaction, knowing when and how to terminate an interaction professionally and respectfully if needed, and how to stay positive to help diffuse the anger. So go on to the show notes, click Diffusing Irate Members. This is an online workshop that is 2 hours with a ton of information that will empower you in handling irate members.
And they're back. The office hours that you crave so much, where we get questions from the audience, we get questions from you, we get questions from our trainees. And this question actually was a meeting that was set up by one of our trainees with one of our trainers. And this is something that we do for you. If you wanted to ever book time with Mr. Scott Anderly or myself, we are available on our website, servicestarconsulting.com, for free. We should probably charge for it. Most people like us do, but we do not, because we're silly like that. And we like to hear from you. So somebody took advantage of that, wisely so, and asked Anderly this question recently that we're going to ask him on the podcast.
Let's do it.
I have an opening. And I have the opportunity to promote from within, which is something that our culture kind of is esteeming to do. We want to promote from within because that keeps the culture intact. It also promotes development, and it kind of creates this space where we can grow as an organization and grow as a credit union and get everybody internally excited. But the candidates that I have internally to promote from within aren't capable, or they don't have the competencies that would be required for this role that is open on my team. Or decision, I have somebody from the outside, from my previous employer, that I could pull over and have do a great job, has the competencies, has the capabilities, but they're not internal. It might be a culture clash because they come from more of a sales background, more of a salesy type environment. And so it's not going to be the same culture per se. What do I do, Scott Anderly? And Scott Anderly so wisely answered like this.
Well, you know what, Albrecht, I may want you to role play with me for a little bit. Is that something
Sure.
you're willing to do?
Oh man, I love rolling.
Let's rocking and rolling. So you might not see this unless we do a video podcast, guys, but I'm going to do a little whiteboard here. But what we're going to do is we're going to work on the three D's of decision making. There's define it. Is it a simple decision that's easy, right and wrong? Is it number 2, which is determine when we need to do it? And what I would say with this decision is it is somewhere in between complicated and complex. There is a range of right answers. It might feel like there's one answer that's better than the others, and we're trying to find out what that is. So then I need to determine when I need to do it. Well, all right, it's a complicated to complex decision. This is important stuff. I'm choosing someone to be in this position. So then if I go to the second D, determining when, this is not an urgent decision. There's this sense of urgency. Yes, could be important and urgent, where it's like, I need this position filled. But what's more important is, are you looking just to get a warm body, or are you looking to solidify your culture and really make a transformational change? So I would argue that this is important. You could fill it in depending on what your situation is, important and urgent, or just important, not urgent. It just determines how fast do you do this and when you make the decision. The third thing is we need to diagram the decision. So Albrecht, we're going to do a pros and cons list on steroids. We call this the decision-making matrix. So I want you to pretend to be this manager who's faced with this decision. If I need to fill a position, do I promote from within, or do I hire someone who's very capable from outside? So let's tap into your experience, Albrecht. The last job you had before you started doing consulting was a branch manager, right?
Yep.
All right, let's say you're moving on to be a market manager where you're overseeing a few branches and you need to promote someone or hire someone to be the branch manager of the branch that you were previously working at. We're going to do a pros and cons list, but we're going to keep it pretty simple. Before we talk about pros and cons, let's talk about, maybe a better word would be factors. All right, if you're looking for someone to take your job, I want you to tell me, what are 3 important attributes, 3 important skills, 3 important situations? What are 3 factors that are important when making this decision? This could, here, let me give you an example. It could be the fact that what we had heard in this question was from within. There was this value. Wow, look at my great lines. Value of, I'm promoting from within. I'm helping develop people. So that would be a factor. Are they internal or external?
And I would say culture fit is kind of what you could classify that column as. So are they a culture fit? And if they're internal, they're already a part of our culture. So there's going to be a better maybe chance that they're a culture fit. And if they're external, maybe they work for the B word. Maybe it would be harder for them to fit into our more member facing. They're probably going to say the C word a couple of times on their first couple of days, and that might not be as good of a culture fit. I think the other thing that this manager specifically was looking for was competency. So I don't have competency on my current team. We would have to do some significant upskilling to be able to get them to do the job well. Whereas if I bring this other person in from maybe the B word that I used to work at, I've got immediate competency. I got someone who's done this, does it well, can kind of jump into the position. And maybe the only thing they have to learn is system structure and some of our internal, unique processes. So the third maybe column here is system knowledge, and because that kind of comes with the internal hire. I've got someone that knows Scimitar. I got someone who knows typically how we handle business. And so that internal system, internal processes, it's not going to be brand new to them. So I might have some places to step off and launch on. Now, because you asked me the question, I'm looking for humbleness, I'm looking for hungriness, and I'm looking for people who are wicked smart. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room if we're both in the room. So they got to level me up from the brain standpoint, because I need a lot of help there. I'm looking for people who can be coached, because I might not be the best learning and development person you'll ever get, but man, oh man, I know what it looks like to be the best. And so I'm going to coach whoever I have up in every area they need to be coached, as you got to witness when you first started here at Service Star, because I know what it looks like to be really good. And so I'm going to coach the heck out of someone. So they got to be able to accept the coaching, right? And then if they don't want the job, I think that's one of the hardest things, to try to get someone to do a good job if there's no zeal or zest for the actual job. And so I can go and talk to my best friend and recruit my best friend and give him all the money in the world. But if he's never really interested in what we do here for the company and what he would be doing or she would be doing in that role, it doesn't matter how capable they are, how hungry they are, they're probably not a good fit. So those are the 3 that I look for. But the 3 she was specifically weighing was competency, culture fit, and probably we're adding this third one for her. If you hire someone from within, you don't have to train them on the systems, right? Yeah.
Let's do a mix and match of both of those. So what I want listeners to know is you can have unlimited factors. There's so many factors that are important to a decision. And you could say that the more factors you have, the more clarity you get on this decision. For teaching purposes, we're just going to keep it to 3, especially since this is over audio mostly. I don't want to confuse people.
Yeah.
So let's say here's the 3 factors. Albrecht's becoming a market manager. He's promoting or hiring a new branch manager. Let's say we're looking for culture fit. All right. So internal or external, or do they understand the culture? The second one, I loved what you said, was are they hungry, humble, and smile on their face? So what I'm hearing is attitude or charisma or coachability. We could even say coachability. Let's just say coachability for the sake of this teaching. So we got culture fit, coachability. And the third one is, let's just say the knowledge, product knowledge or systems knowledge. So as we're looking at these 3 factors, let's say, Albrecht, we're role playing, we're imagining you are hiring a branch manager. Let's say you get to rank these 1 through 5, 5 being the most important thing. And multiple factors, listeners, multiple factors can be a 5. It's not just, oh, this one has to be 5, this one has to be a 3, this one has to be a 2. No, it's just, all right, when you're hiring someone, how important is culture fit to you on a scale of 1 through 5, Albrecht?
Yeah, so this is called weighting and rating. And so I want to weight the importance of culture. I want to weight the importance of coachability, which, by the way, I'll give you a teaser. Coachability is a 5. If I could make it a 6, I'd make it a 6. If I could make it a 500, I'd make it a 500. I want coachability more than I want anything else. Because if you can't hear the words that I'm saying and turn it into better performance, I can't do much with you.
Yeah.
The coachability is a 5. Culture fit, I think that's a little bit.
Would you say that's a 5 as well? It's okay to have 2 5s, or would you
It's
say
okay to have 2
5s?
5s. All right, I'll make it a. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what? From what you're saying,
I don't like the term culture fit. So I know that's a term that they use, but sometimes that's used ill. So I'm having a hard time with the term. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Could say
I'm
internal,
going to give it a
external.
4 because I think if you hire people who are coachable and hungry and wicked smart, you're going to have a culture fit. And so it kind of fixes that. And then the last one, which is competency, I'm going to give it like a 3. I'm going to give it a 3 because I can train someone to be good at something. I can't train coachability.
Yeah, if they're coachable, then they're going to want to learn.
Now, it's easier for me if I hire someone who's already done it before. It's easier for me to hire the person who's been doing it for 22 years. And actually, if you ask most HR people, they're going to send you resumes of people who have done it for 22 years, who do have credit union experience. And I've hired those people. And not saying anything bad about those people, but I am telling you, it's not as easy as you think to plug and play someone who has the experience versus taking someone from Starbucks and training them. Sometimes it's easier when you have that culture fit.
And that could fit with coachability too, but there's also just the soft skills, the leadership skills. And that's actually what we teach a lot. That could be a whole factor itself is if you don't know, are you willing to find out how to get things done? So now what we've done, Albrecht just explained, is we've weighted each factor. And there could be multiple factors all within this number of 1 through 5. This helps you put it on paper and you start saying, all right, what's most important to me? So we've got internal. The fact if they're internal is pretty high. It's a 4. Coachability is the most important thing. And from how you were talking about, it's like everything else will not be as important as coachability. That is the most important thing. And then the competence, the system knowledge, we put a 3. It's important, but like you said, I can find other people. So now what we're going to do is let's imagine we have 2 different contenders, 2 different applicants here. All right. So now what we're going to do is we've weighted this. Now we're going to look at our contestants. What are we, a game show? Our contestants.
Yeah.
And say, all right, let's rank them based on our conversations or what we know about them. So we'll bring a little bit of the situation with a friend I have in the industry, and then maybe you could bring some of your knowledge and insight as well, Albrecht. So let's talk about internal and external. The credit union I was talking to, they had one option. We're going to call her Sally. Sally had been working at the same credit union. Sally worked at the same credit union, but she wasn't very knowledgeable. She actually couldn't even tell you the difference between a credit union and a bank yet. But she knew the system, but she couldn't do a lot of things on the system yet. She always had to call other managers and ask for help just because she hasn't been trained on it much. But she's very coachable. She wants to move up. She wants to be a part, and she's internal. So we got Sally, who works at the same credit union. And then let's say Olivia from the other credit union. Olivia from the other credit union. It's not a bank, all right? But it's not the same credit union. So coachability, she's really good. She's actually worked with this previous client, client, and had coaching sessions with her and was was developed by her. System knowledge, really, really good. This client, she could leave and know that everything was going to be handled well with her. And fortunately enough, this new credit union, they use the same exact member screens and software and course, but she's not internal. And actually, she doesn't even work at a credit union anymore. She works at some insurance company. It's been a few years. So these are the two contestants that we have. We've got Olivia from another credit union. We've got Sally from the same credit union. So with the weight, the importance of each factor that Albrecht gave it, based on us talking about this situation, Albrecht, let's say, all right, Sally from the same credit union with the internal, if you were going to rank her or rate her from a 1 to 5, I'll give you the answer. All right. I would say Sally's a 5. She's from the credit union. She is there. You'd be promoting within. Coachability. From your experience, when you're hearing about people like the Sallys in your life, when you hear everything that I've said about this Sally, what would you rate her as between a 1 and a 5? 5 being very coachable, the best. 1 being don't talk to me. I can do this better than you. Let me teach you.
I'm gonna go ahead and say not very coachable without knowing her and not knowing the coaching that's going on, only because she hasn't gotten the system down right. She keeps on asking the same questions over and over again. She's waiting for someone to push her into a spot of greater responsibility. She's not doing, she doesn't have that sense of ownership that comes from being coachable, where I want to learn. It's that zeal again, right? Like coachable and hungry. They're humble, they're hungry. They want to get down the system so they can make it better, so they can figure out a way to make it more efficient, more effective. And so I'm not hearing that about this person.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give her a low score. I'm going to give her a 1 or a 2.
All right. Let's go with 2 because she's responding well, but like you said, she's not being proactive or willing in taking it. And then system knowledge, I would say about the same. I'd say 2 or a 3. So now what we're going to do, guys, is what you've done is you have weighted each factor. All right. Now you're going to multiply that weight times their rating. And what this does is not only is it a pros and cons list, because what happens after you do a pros and cons list? You feel stressed out. You go, here's all the good things. Here's all the bad. I don't know what to do. What we're doing now is you're bringing in a little basic math of saying, this is how important it is to me. This is how well they are at it. What's the number score here? So with her being internal, that's a weight of 4. So you times 4 times her score, and her score is 5 because she works there. So 4 times 5, correct me if I'm wrong, 20.
Yeah, that's the right math on that one. Because we're credit union people, we got to get our numbers done right?
Yeah.
And so on coachability, we gave her a score of 2. We rated that as a 5, and so she's got an overall score of 10 in coachability. And I'm guessing in system knowledge, she's a 5 because she works there already.
She's always asking questions. So I would say, let's say she's a 3. And also the weight of that is 3. So 3 times 3 is 9.
So we have a total score, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 19 plus 20, 39 for our internal candidate.
So internal, Sally at the same credit union is at 39. All right. It's good numbers. Now let's talk about Olivia from the other credit union. She's not internal, but she is from a credit union previously. So the question is it just 5 and 1 if she's not at that credit union? That's up to you to decide. But what I would say in this situation, she's worked at a credit union before. She understands it, but she doesn't work at that credit union. But it's in the same city, same culture. They actually use the same systems and softwares as well. So I want to give it a 5. I'd give it a 3. I'd give it a 3 because part of the same movement. Coachability, I would give it a 5. Very coachable, has done the job well, has exceeded expectations. And then system knowledge, I would say, is a 5 as well. So we got what, 5 times 5, 2 25s, and then 3 times 4.
Yeah, it beat 39 already. If you got 2 25s, you've already beat the score to beat, which is 39. And let me just kind of give you the asterisks on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Hiring is a coin flip. You can do pre-assessments, but I'll tell you what, there's some really good interviewees that turn out to be really ineffective employees.
Yeah.
It's really hard to measure internal motivation in a 30-minute interview. And so we definitely have some tools and some tricks here at Service Star that kind of level up your odds than maybe a 50-50 roulette wheel. But I need to give you some grace if you're listening to the Credit Union Leadership podcast right now. If you've hired and it wasn't a hit and you thought maybe you had it, this effective decision making metrics is one of those tools that we would offer you if you put time on our calendars. And so thank you, Anderleaf, for being resourceful for this credit union, for giving them something other than just a coin flip when it comes to hiring.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And actually, let me tell you how the story ended with this particular client. We had done this and we are like, oh, no brainer. The numbers show it's got to be the person from your previous credit union. Well, we gave her about a month to think about it. And we talked about it a little later. And she said, well, hey, I know what we saw on paper, but as I was thinking about it, I was thinking if I worked internally and I saw that my new boss brought in someone from outside and I really wanted this position, how would I feel? And then based on that, she said, I would leave because clearly they're not developing me. And I said, hey, that's great that you've made a decision. And it's not what we had on paper, but what happened was she added a fourth factor. And that fourth factor was more important than the rest. It was loyalty. It was turnover. It was, all right, if I make this decision, is it worth losing this person? And she was coachable and they're working together and they're working through this. So what I can say is as you're doing this, you might add more factors. We just did 3 for training purposes, but this is a tool. And also as you have it on paper, you might not choose it because this is decision-making. It's an art. We're giving you a little bit of the science and the skills, but it's a balance of the skills. How do you do it in art and just knowing instinctually what to do, feeling the emotions, knowing how this is going to land with your team. So these are tools that help you, tools to look at. So as you make a decision, you're analyzing the risk, but you're also analyzing the reward. Albrecht, what else do you have to say? You had talked about, as I heard you talk about, hey, listeners, little asterisks about the hiring situation.
Yeah, it's hard to know unless you have them in the seat. You don't know. And hiring is always 2020 in the rearview mirror. Like you don't know until you hire them. And so I'm excited to hear how her decision went. And as you grow in your leadership, the more opportunities you'll have to learn from those reps. If you want to just go and put time on our calendars, we'll give you some things not to base your hiring decision off of, because those things can sometimes cloud our initial gut reaction to how someone is reacting in an interview. And so these tools are helpful, but sometimes, to your point, Anderley, you just have a feeling. And sometimes we as human beings can overcomplicate things, and dogs don't do that. When dogs have a gut feeling as to whether someone's safe or unsafe, it's usually pretty good. They go based on instinct. And so we do have, especially if we've been doing a lot of hiring lately and we've met with a lot of people, there is that kind of just this gut feel that you can't teach in training class. You can't create a decision-making metrics for it. It's just there. And when people try to ask for some justification as to why you didn't continue on with the candidate, especially when we're crunched for time, especially when we're short-staffed, especially when so-and-so wasn't taking a vacation for 7 months, it's hard to answer. It was just a feeling that I had. I'm giving you the grace right now to go with your feelings. If you've been in that spot multiple times, there's a great book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell that talks about professionals that are in situations where they see a lot of different situations, and the subconscious starts to categorize what is right and what is wrong without you having to rationally think about it. And so just give yourself some grace if you've made some hard hiring decisions that haven't gone out well for you.
Yeah, man, you said so many great things. And I just want to bring the whole Vertex teaching to our listeners right now, but I'm going to refrain myself. But what I will also say as we end this off is it's not just for hiring people. You can use this for who should I delegate a task to? You could use this for what do I need to get done today? What emails do I need to respond to? What projects do I need to work on? Actually, you know what? Let's end it off with this. Albrecht, we experienced this today. There was something I would argue was important and urgent, and it would be interesting to hear from you. What is that situation? Where does the podcast fall within those quadrants compared to our other tasks? Can you share that story? I think that'd be a great way to end it off.
Yeah. So a little bit of transparency goes a long ways. It is the beginning of the year. You're probably listening to this podcast in March. I don't know. This podcast is being recorded ahead of time so that we have tons of podcasts kind of available for you all to listen to. The world might have ended already, and this podcast is still going to go live when we choose for it to go live. And so is it urgent? No. Is it important? No, it is on the list of things to do, but we had a meeting right before when we were supposed to start this podcast, and something really urgent came up that was really important. And so I told the team to give me some grace and give me 20 minutes to get that out the way so that we could come and get this podcast recorded. And so having that urgent not consume the important in your daily lives by categorizing what is urgent and what is important has given me clarity. I actually brought a prop. You can't see it on the radio, but
Yeah, that
I have a
whiteboard.
whiteboard of what is urgent and what is important. And my urgent and important quadrant of the 4 options got real full after that meeting. And so we pushed this podcast 20 minutes. It's still
Yeah.
going to go out, but the most important thing got done before we hit record on this podcast here today.
Yeah. And, I think that what I'll bring it back to as well is what's our job description? And it's not marketing. It's not podcast. This is something we do because we love it. We want to be a part of the people that we've trained on site and virtually and be a part of your story in developing your current and aspiring leaders. But this is not particular what we get paid to do. It doesn't, our KPIs aren't based on this podcast where we had something come up in the previous meeting that did affect our KPIs and our specific roles. So that made it urgent and important. This, it feels urgent. It's coming up. Yeah, but does it affect my job role and what I'm here to do? No. Well, this has been great. What we're going to do is we're going to end off the podcast with my favorite segment, Catching You Doing It Right, where we get listeners to submit recordings of them catching particular teammates or their whole team doing it right, because that's something we believe very, very strongly here. So this is the Credit Union Leadership Podcast. Thank you for listening in, and listen to this Catching You Doing It Right.
Catching you doing it right.
Hey, Matt and Trevor, congratulations on your Vertex graduation. Lately, you both have had opportunities to coach and hold your employees accountable. I know coaching and accountability can be very challenging for supervisors, but you guys have done such a great job. I appreciate your willingness to have these tough conversations with your employees, and I hope you know that you're making them into a better employee. You're helping them to reach their full potential, and you're helping Wasatch Peaks to reach its mission. Now that you have these awesome Vertex skills in your toolboxes, I know you two will be able to handle anything that comes your way. Thank you so much for all you do every day to serve our members and to serve your employees. I appreciate you, and congratulations again. See you guys.
Interested in submitting a question to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, we want to hear from you. Go in our show notes. We have a link over there, and in that link, it's going to take you to 2 options. You can submit a question written out through email, or you can submit an audio recording through SpeakPipe. We make it super easy. Go to the link in the show notes, click audio recording. Once you click audio recording, it's going to take you straight to a website where you just press the record button. You've got 90 seconds to submit a question or submit you catching doing somebody do it right. And then you just type in your name and email address, and that's it. It comes straight to us, and we'll take it from there. So you don't need to download anything. You don't need to get any new software. You just go to this website, press record, and click submit, and we're good to go. So go to the link in the show notes, click if you want to submit a question written out or through audio, and we'll take it from there. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. Credit union leaders, do you have a training team? Do you have an HR team? Do you have people that are competent and more than capable to train the team you have, but you might just not have the content yet? Well, guess what? Service Star, right now we're doing a trainer certification process where you can get certified to learn how to teach becoming a sales champion, service excellence, coaching for performance. These classes that we've done with hundreds of credit unions that are working, that are improving the culture, improving sales, and building strong leaders about moving the credit union movement. So if this is something you're interested in, look at the link in the show notes and contact our team at Service Star Consulting about the trainer certification process, where we equip you with how to train this, and we equip you with the products, with the tools, with the participants guides, everything that you need. Your credit union just needs the person to teach it and facilitate it. So what are you waiting for? Look at the show notes. Talk to us right now. See how we can team up together to equip your HR, your training team, to build the best culture, the best leaders, the best team you've ever had. Trainer certification process.